Well, Andy, a whirlwind week for you so far. Two games, but a lot's gone on in between. So tell us about your movements this week.
So we've been all over, as people know, last night on Express FM. But before that, arrived on Saturday for an exciting match against QPR. Obviously a well-played game. Decent result. We're hopeful this coming Tuesday is even better. Sunday, spent some time at the Academy training ground with the U13s and U14s, both of whom happened to win their games, which was very exciting. We're over at HMS Collingwood now for game day on Sundays, and trying to begin to develop a relationship with the Navy over a period of time. So had dinner that night with most of the executive staff, with Mark and Tony and Anna. On Monday, basically a whole variety of meetings around different elements of the club. Some stadium planning with external architects. We reviewed a lot the ticket and frankly, operational issues related to tickets recently, which I know the club has already put out statements apologizing for some difficulties that we've had, and they're working on the changes to improve that going forward. And let's see, 2 nights ago I went with you over to the Isle of Wight for their supporters meeting, which was really, I thought terrific. Yesterday, I also had a meeting with the DSA. Eric Eisner and I had a meeting with the DSA. And otherwise, we've been frequently in and out of meetings with Kenny, with Joe Gallen, with Phil Boardman and Roberto. This is a big squad planning week, as people I'm sure will know. At this point, everything is done. We think it's been a great transfer window, but we're also careful about that statement. Last year we got blasted for overstating it. So time will tell, but I'd say we're comfortable with where we ended up. A few players going out and back on loan and back from a loan and so forth, and we're excited for the run-in. And I think especially exciting to still be live in 3 competitions at this point in the season. Not that many people enter February that way, so we'll see.
You've come over in quite an intense period, what with the FA Cup transfer deadline, Luton away and all that's going on. Was that always intended?
Yes and no. The FA Cup, you have no idea whether you're still going to be in it. So when we make our plans for a season, the vast majority of those plans are made at the beginning of the year. As many of your supporters will know, back when we acquired the club, we agreed a deal with the former owners, the PST and the presidents, that we would have quarterly meetings with a heritage and advisory board. That board meeting was Monday night, and that was set way back in August. So it was not around the FA Cup game. I'm thrilled that we were able to get an FA Cup game in, but we wouldn't have known that. And oddly enough, the Luton game, which we attended this past Tuesday, was also not scheduled then because that was adjusted based on other cup successes. Yeah. So we knew it would be a busy week because it was always transfer deadline day. Yes. And we knew there'd be at least 2 games because even if the game was going to be moved for the FA Cup, it was going to be replaced by an FA Cup game. But yeah, we like to be here during busy times. So we are almost always here for the first home game. We're almost always here for the last home game. So it's really a question of when sprinkled in between when we would be here. This is the first time we've been here for transfer deadline day, which it was a hectic week. And I think actually seeing it in person, we learned a lot about how much is going on that week. Really, our side of it's easy because we're really just supporting the manager. But I would never have expected how many deals are on and off that you all, some of which are speculated about, some of which no one ever speculated about, and it's a vastly higher number than ever actually gets accomplished. So anyway, it's been great.
Inevitably, you mentioned the Isle of Wight Supporters Club, and inevitably you got asked about the stadium update. You gave them a very interesting but honest reply.
Yeah.
Can you tell us that?
Yeah. Well, and some people will probably have already heard this, but I think when I think about the stadium, overall, we are here at the best and worst moment. So we're here at the best moment to be talking to the fans, because while it's the worst moment in the season with 3 consecutive losses, it's the best moment to be saying nothing about that changes any of our plans. So that's great. But and I mean that on a long-term sense. But the bigger thing that I was able to convey was, when we acquired the club, we said, we're going to have plans, and I think people took that as August of 2018, there'd be something published. Really what we meant was, we will have plans, and we do have plans, not that we would show them to you all. And really, the thing that we think maybe has been a mistake by previous ownership groups is they show this gorgeous board of something that is going to be constructed, out, over the water or whatever, and then it never comes to fruition. And we're trying to be the opposite kind of owner. So we're not going to show you a gorgeous board. We're just going to get to work, do our work, and then when the end result is actually ready and live, then we will show it to you. So that's what happened this season. We believe successfully with the big screen. We believe successfully with the store. But that's our long-term plan, not to lay out some grandiose vision that we're not going to deliver, but each season for people to arrive and say, I can see what they're doing, and I'm excited about what they're doing. And the other thing you will notice is we will balance that over time. We know we will make mistakes. So one of the reasons that we've been careful about doing too much too quickly is, if we make a mistake, we would prefer it be something small and correctable. And the example I gave at the Isle of Wight was, the big screen. There were a lot of people in our own management here in the club who were worried that maybe that would be perceived to be very American, and that we want people to be able to focus on the pitch. Now that group, the Isle of Wight supporters who were there that night, sort of said the opposite. They love the new screen, and if anything, the only question is, well, how do we enable that for the rest of the fans? And I said to them, that's a great question, but one of the reasons you only put one in to begin is to find out, well, if everybody hated it, the worst thing you could do is go put 2 in, and all of a sudden you're headlong committed to a strategy that people aren't excited about. So we're trying to, as Eric Eisner frequently says, go brick by brick. That is one brick. And I believe on an ongoing basis people will see more bricks, but I realize the story of we're not going to tell you where the end point is. Some fans will think that's unfortunate, but we think it's better for you all to judge us by our actions than by our words.
It's a bit like don't open your Christmas presents till Christmas morning.
Right.
Yeah?
You know what? That's a great analogy. I hadn't thought of it. That's a great analogy.
Copyright, by the way.
That's copyright. All right, Johnny Moore. Yeah, trademark. Okay.
So, you know what strikes me? You're very humble owners for your backgrounds. Where does that all come from?
I mean, that's from Michael. Before working for Michael, I never sat in front of a camera and had an interview. So, just like they say, the fish stinks from the head. In this case, the inverse. Michael has he wants to be amongst the people, thoughtful to what the regular fan wants, and we just don't. We prefer not to declare victory in advance of an actual result. So, it's Michael. It's from Michael.
Is progress going quicker than you ever envisaged?
So let me separate things. On the stadium, we are progressing at exactly the pace we expected. We are very happy with the pace we're progressing, but to say quicker than we ever envisioned, it's probably at pace. In terms of progress on the pitch, I would say absolutely. We are tremendous fans of Kenny Jackett and what he's doing, and I don't just mean Kenny. His whole staff has really been incredible. We, in our own planning, wouldn't have thought we could achieve 8th place last season. We wouldn't have thought that this season, for the moment, we'd be, right up there in the automatic promotion places. We do hope that this is a year where we compete for those at this point. But if you'd asked us at the beginning of the year, we hope to be better than 8th. Overall, the progress has been faster than we would have expected, but a lot of that is due to factors that we won't take credit for because, rightly, it's Kenny and his team and the players individually, their hard work, that as much as we invest into the club and the players and all that, still, they have to get it done. So it's really credit to them.
Now, I've been involved with this club for 51 years, so I was down there when it all began.
Yeah.
You talk about a 50-year plan. How does that work?
How does a 50-year plan work? Look, I think it's not easy to plan that far out, but it's easier than some people might give us credit for. Because if your plan is for stability, is for looking at the club and the fundamental, really sad, difficult issues this club has gone through, they're because there wasn't stability, there wasn't unity of thought. And I can't claim, we weren't here, so I don't know whether that was from the ownership to the management or always the owners were going to try and make off with their money. I don't know. But for us, when you talk to me, or you talk to Mark, or you talk to Eric, or you talk to Michael, or at this point now, when you talk to Kenny, we all think about everything we're doing the same way. Obviously, Kenny has much, much more to do with the players than, for example, Eric and I, who have much, much more to do with the stadium. Mark's involved in every element of it. But the unity of how we think about it is the biggest thing that we are not just trying to portray, it's the biggest thing we're trying to achieve. And frankly, so far so good.
Without revealing anything, brick by brick is the motto. Yeah. Would you eventually foresee yourselves building a mansion or something less spectacular? And a mansion being all the way to the top.
Yeah. That's a hard question to answer. I would say for the club's level of success, we hope to build a mansion. For the actual stadium, which is I think what you're more referring to, I don't know that a mansion has the right feel in Portsmouth. I think what we are doing at this moment, assuming that, as Mark has said numerous times, while we would like to stay at Fratton Park, you can't always guarantee it forever. There are lots of other parties that have to work with us, enable us on both a commercial basis and on a city governance basis and things like that. But I don't think we would ever want someone to come to Fratton Park and think of it as a mansion, right? We're not, the town and kind of our philosophy is to be a group of hardworking people. So as grandiose as our visions on the pitch may be, a mansion is the wrong analogy. I don't actually know what the right analogy is.
Not for the stadium itself, but for how far the football club could go.
Yeah, look, there's no limits to Portsmouth Football Club. Fundamentally, only because of the energy of the fans, the passion of the fans, and that's what we felt like we were getting involved with in the beginning. And a year and a half in, I'd tell you we're more convinced of that than we ever were.
You're very busy guys in your own right. But did you ever wonder how you functioned without Portsmouth Football Club?
Because it's such a passion now, sure, we'll come to that at some moment. We'll feel that way. We do have a number of other things going on. This is why I say, really, Mark runs everything. Only a certain percentage of my own time or of the Eisner's time is spent on this, which is why this is really Mark's project more than it's ours. But the inverse, I can't imagine taking it away for sure. Yeah.
But when match day comes along, it's probably a feeling you never had before.
Never had before. Oh my God! It's funny because you read on social media or otherwise, how much pressure the fans have to, acquire the next player or whatever, and it's 1/10 or 1/100th the pressure you feel internally in your own mind, because every goal we give up, nobody is more upset than the group of us in Los Angeles. I mean, there is no question we live and breathe the club as much as you possibly could.
So, despite all your other distractions, life has changed for you because
For sure. Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no scenario I don't catch every Pompey game. Yeah.
Well, it's been fascinating talking to you, Andy.
Thanks for having me, Johnny. Great to see you.
Great to talk to you.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Thank you.